Welcome to the November 3rd, 2022 regular meeting of the Encinitas Planning Commission. We'll call this meeting to order at 6 o'clock p.m. I see all 5 planning commissioners present. I think we can dispense with a roll call. We like to begin each meeting with a pledge of allegiance. Would you join me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Let's see. Next up, I usually ask for any announcements. I'll have one, which is it's November 3rd, and voting in California begins on Saturday, November 5th, and runs for 4 days. And I urge anyone who hasn't voted to get out. We've got 3 vote centers here in Encinitas. We're at the Paul Ecke Central School, the Encinitas Senior and Community Center, and the Ada Harris Elementary School. So it's important. It works when we all can participate. And anything else? Was that just me? Nope. Hearing none? Oh,
you can also drop off your ballot at any voting location.
That's true. You can drop it off at any
mail-in ballot.
The mail-in ballot can be dropped off at any voting location or any drop boxes, which are usually in our libraries. And you can, if you know anyone turning 18 right around now, you can register on the day of. I have two goddaughters of mine who turn 18 on November 8th, and they'll be voting at LCC, which is where they go to school, and it's kind of cool. So it's a good thing to set up, and well, that was my announcement. We start each meeting here with oral communications, where anyone wishing to speak on a topic not on tonight's agenda may request to do so. Has anyone?
No speakers this evening. No speakers for oral communications.
No speakers for oral. And concerning changes to the agenda, I think, Anna, we have changes to the published agenda. The item 8B has been removed by...
That's correct. The application for 8B has been withdrawn.
Okay. We move on to our consent calendar next. These are items that are considered non-controversial or routine in nature. They're typically voted on in one motion. If anyone wants to pull an item, anyone in the audience can do so, or one of our commissioners. Robert?
Yes, I'd like to pull an item from the consent.
Which one?
The Foxglove House.
Which one is that? 6A, the Grotting residence, or the one on Tennis Club Drive?
Grotting.
Grotting?
Yes.
Okay, so 6A will be pulled. Are there has anyone pulled an item from consent calendar?
No.
So tonight we have the Grotting residence, which I didn't really write all the details in this. It wasn't, which is at 702 Foxglove Street. It's a second-story addition to a twin home. And item 6B, which is the Van Wettering new single-family residence. This is on Tennis Club Way. And then next we have approval of the minutes for September 1st and September 15th.
And before you can I ask staff if we can see the agenda on our monitors?
Oh, yeah. We don't really have control of our monitors here today.
There were some technical issues. I can have Karen come out.
So I will read this in more detail since so the consent calendar consists of 4 items tonight. The Grotting residence, case number multi 5224-2022, and this is at 702 Foxglove Street. It's a small development consisting primarily of twin homes, and this is a design review to allow the construction of a second story on one half of the twin home.
Do you want to consider a motion on the rest of the consent calendar?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we should, now, item 6B is affected by a memo we've received today, which, where did my little memo go? Which adds a condition that's concerning our climate action plan, goal number 7.1, to increase urban tree cover. This is encouraging developers to avoid the removal of any mature trees when a property is developed or redeveloped. And if any tree removal is necessary, would require the replacement at, replacement at a 1-to-1 ratio. This came by email, I'm not sure what time, today. I think it is perfectly in line with our philosophy here as a city. We want, if you're taking out a mature tree, let's replace a mature tree.
If I could make a motion, I'd
Sure.
make a motion to approve the consent calendar, except for 6A.
Second?
Okay. And adding the memo condition of approval to item 6B.
Fantastic, thank you, Steve. So
Second?
I think, I believe that Steve Dalton, Commissioner Dalton made the motion and Commissioner Ryan seconded. Or no? Commissioner Susan, thank you. So, and since our, oh, now we have the agenda. But how do we, should we do a voice vote on this?
Yeah, please. Or just by hand, so it'd be great.
Will you call the question?
All right, all in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
All right, 5-0, thank you.
All right, the consent calendar passes unanimously, and we'll hear case 6A. Robert, do you need to hear a staff report on this, or are we,
I would actually. It's my
Okay.
first time on something like
Thank you.
this. It'd be great.
works for me?
Okay. Basically, this is a design review permit and coastal permit. As indicated, it's at 702 Foxglove. It's in the Pacific Serena development. And basically, what these units are, it's two attached single-family homes on one lot, essentially two ownerships on one lot. So they basically they own the structure essentially, but they have 50% interest in the land. Similar to a condo, but not exactly a condo. And so basically, the application is adding this second story, as you can see shown here. So the addition is essentially over the existing unit, and it basically will comply with the current underlying setback. So the current condition you can see is in this shape, essentially. The setbacks are essentially 5 feet on the sides, 25 or 20 in the rear, and 20 at the front. And so currently, part of the building is non-conforming in the front yard setback. The addition or the changes will all be set back beyond the current setback limits, complying with the current code. And so basically, they're adding 941 square feet on the second floor, and then I think about 36 square feet on the ground floor. The existing attached unit here at 704 Foxglove there's no changes to that unit. Essentially, that one's 778 square feet. Both of them have kind of a single 277 square foot garage that kind of exists in this location here. And this just shows the context. I'll just kind of go through the floor plan. You can see the garage, some of the reconfigurations here for the addition. And then let's see, this shows the existing profile, kind of the common look that's out there. The attached area is not a property line, even though it kind of seems to function that way out there. It's just basically where it's attached. And then in context, you can see the elevation changes. So really what we're evaluating here is the design review. So they provided essentially four-sided architecture. Obviously, it'll have its uniqueness to the adjacent neighbor, which is encouraged in our guidelines. And so basically, staff's recommending approval. There are others out there that are similar. Two-story additions have been done. We have some that are kind of loft-style, single-story additions that have been like master bedrooms that have been added. But there's been, I would say, at least about 6 or more that have been done over the last 5 years. So it's more and more common as we're seeing it moving forward. And so I'm available for questions. I believe the applicant's here as well to answer questions.
Great, thank you. Let's see. So, appreciate you just leaving it up. I'm assuming that the person who lives in 704 is completely aware and has been noticed.
Yep.
Has
Right.
that person commented all?
There was no issue. Yeah.
No issue?
Yeah.
Okay. I noticed that in the application, there were 5 letters that came back returned to sender. How many letters were mailed and what percentage is the 5?
What percentages came back?
Yes.
I don't know offhand. I mean, I'd have to actually look at the noticing, but those could continually come back even after an action. I mean, that is,
Well, I guess my concern is, if there's 1 attempt and 5 came back, if there were 10, that's a 50%, failure rate. So how many people really noticed that this was going to change? On Google Maps, I didn't see a lot of second stories in the area. You mentioned, 6 in the area. Can you give me an estimate of, on
yeah.
this street, how many, and if they are set up like half of the house built and the other half not built? Because I didn't see a lot in just my review.
so we can get the actual number of how many were mailed.
Okay.
But you're asking how many are 2-story here?
Yeah,
Just generally?
in the neighborhood, I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know if there are any directly here. Like I said, there's a lot of units out here, but there are, like I said, a handful. There's about 6 or 7 that are within Pacific Serena that have done this.
Okay.
So yeah, not necessarily on Foxglove, but there is one I know on Fraxinella. I believe one on Coneflower. You'd have to actually see the specific examples, but there are some that came in together that did a double up above. This
Right.
is one just happens to be single.
Yeah, that's what kind of caught my eye is
Yeah.
you've got somebody who's, all of a sudden going to be shadowed. I mean, I'm assuming that, what they've submitted from a design review standpoint works at all the setbacks, but, clearly if he's going to be casting shadows to the backyard that don't exist now. So I'm assuming that 704 has no comment, then I guess he's,
Yeah, and that's
Okay
not
with it.
necessarily the setback, right? So there isn't really a setback. Functionally, they own 50% interest. So this just happens to be kind of a fence separating the units. But it really, 50%, it might actually skew a fence more at a different angle at 50% interest and ownership. That's just how they've set it up. I don't know that anybody on this property has contested that, but they own 50% legally on
no, I'm
title.
talking about the second story is going to be casting shadows into the
Correct.
backyard, and it's going to be clearly impacting the adjacent unit or house.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I guess one could argue that this is obviously has a roof, and in theory, they can build a second-story addition above connecting. The key thing is there's a firewall that separates these since they're 2 different ownerships. So that this has to be firewall rated in order to be as they add above. So this will be a fire-rated wall, essentially separating the 2 units.
Is it a fire-rated wall now, or is that something that's required as part of the construction?
It'll be required, but I don't know. We'd have to ask the architect.
Okay, and then I'm assuming that it's not going to be it's not going to be, that the wall is not going to impair the property owner next door.
No.
So if the structure goes up 2 stories, the person next door is not going to be inconvenienced through the construction or load bearing. They're not going to have to come into their property to do anything. It's clearly
No.
going to be on 100% on the,
Correct. You can see kind of how it's designed here, how it's braced.
right?
So all of that's on the interior condition of the wall.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then in your report, I'm looking at the planning agenda item 6A memo that came. There's a calculation for maximum lot coverage and proposed lot coverage. It's on page 5 of 62. I'm just trying to get to the exact page. Let's see, the header is Planning Commission Agenda Item 6A, November 3rd, 2022. at the bottom. It's got your calculations for maximum lot coverage, proposed lot coverage, max FAR, proposed FAR.
Okay, is a memo?
Yeah, yes, it's from the memo.
Oh, just in the report, you mean?
Yeah, it was
Page
in.
5, okay.
Page 5, yeah.
Okay, so in the paragraph, the project shares one lot with 704 Foxglove Street for a total of 7,704 gross and net square feet. The second-story addition results in 3,886, or 3,086 square feet of building area. This is an FAR of 0.33. Can you walk me through the math? I see an FAR of 0.4, which is about the maximum lot coverage, but I just want to make sure that, and it says 3081 versus 3086.
I mean, it's based on, it's the same calculation shown here in the plan, so,
Okay,
so basically the max is 40%. So what they're calculating in here is 702 and 704 Foxglove equal whatever that 2146. So essentially that's 28% total footprint divided by the whole lot area, because you have to factor in the whole. So it's the same calculation here. And then the max FAR is actually 0.6, so 60% of the total. And they're proposing 0.33, so.
then the paragraph seems to be off. I'm just trying to be consistent. Here, I highlighted it for you. Maybe I just read it wrong.
Okay.
If I may, I believe that the paragraph was referencing the maximum for the entire site, and then the tables break it out to show that each home is still maintaining 50% of that. So there's two different calculations, one to show that the FAR and lot coverage for the site are not exceeded, and then broken out that's showing that the second-story addition is only utilizing 50% of that.
So the total square footage for 702 Foxglove, ground floor and second floor is what?
For which one, 702?
Yeah, the applicant.
So that is, let's see. I think it's right here on the front. 2146?
2533. Oh, for both combined or one?
No, just the applicant site. Is it in the bottom right, floor area calculation?
Yeah, I mean, essentially it's 941, right? It's all right there. I mean, just calculate real quick.
So the grand total is 3086.
Yeah, 941 plus 277.
That's fine. So I just needed to see where it was. So
Plus
it's
777.
3086 is the gross building area that's proposed.
Yeah, at the bottom, that's the gross.
Right.
That is including the other unit. You asked for
That's-
just 702.
Oh, that's
I
both
think the
units.
anomaly is the garage,
right.
277 square feet each.
Right. So
Double that and
basically,
take it
it's about
away, we're back
2,000
to-
essentially for this project, plus the 704 unit gets you to that gross 3086.
Okay, then that's divided by the total site area, which is 7704.
Right. So that's the calculation you see on the right here.
So 3086 is the gross.
Seems to me like it's well within the allowable parameters here.
Right, so that's 40%, and the maximum is 60. So
Correct, yeah.
it's set.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And just, I guess, the other question you'd asked, we just confirmed that we mailed to 145 owners and occupants. So there's approximately 2.3% that was returned.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I remember the first time I saw one of these where it was a twin home where half of it got tall and the other half did not. And it's a little shocking at first. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's a thing. You know, people own half of it and they don't own the other half. And, you know, usually the concerns are neighbors concerned about view, losing their view.
Right.
Whereas here, the second story butts up to an artificial embankment that leads to houses at the top of the bluff. So, you know, it's a very modest, tiny little house.
Yep.
That'll still be a pretty tiny house. And, you know, way to go. I hope they get great enjoyment of it.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
I'd entertain a motion. Do we want to approve this case?
you get your answers, question?
I did, thank you.
You're welcome.
Unless
make a
anybody in the public wanted to speak on this item?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, we need,
Did we have, come on up. Come up to the mic here. Let's hear. Sorry, what should I be doing? Oh,
is
Yeah.
doing, so I just wanted to make that clear. He's kept me in touch, and I'm comfortable with it.
Thank you for coming.
should I, we'll be okay on this? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did we get a motion to approve on this?
I think I made a motion.
And I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, the motion passes unanimously, and we move on. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was the case you were here for. Next up is our regular agenda, which we only have one item here, since item 8B has been pulled, and this is the Quail Meadows property. Continued public hearing to consider a design review permit, boundary adjustment, major use permit modification, and a coastal development permit for the construction of a multifamily development consisting of 485 residential apartments. Property is located on the east side of Quail Gardens Drive, north of Encinitas Boulevard. Do we have any disclosures? Is anything?
Yes, the city attorney, Tom.
So you may recognize that Commissioner Dalton is sitting at the dais. The last time that he did recuse from his participation, at the time, there was a concern that one of his clients may end up receiving some sort of a financial benefit if the project were to go forward, and for that reason, he opted to recuse. However, I understand that the applicant has redesigned the project, and now it is clear that there is no way that his client could ever get business. So therefore, there is no way that there is a reasonably foreseeable financial impact on Commissioner Dalton. So therefore, state law does not prohibit him from participating. The only requirement is that he is aware of the proceedings, and he has informed me that he is. He's watched all the videos, he's read all the staff reports, he has listened to all the questions, he's read the publications that have come from the public, so therefore he's fully able to participate. Correct me if I'm saying anything wrong?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner Dalton. Do we have any other disclosures? No changes? All right, well, moving on, I believe, did I leave public comment open or closed? Closed. So we're moving straight into commission deliberation. And I have a number of questions I'd like to go over. I don't know if anyone else has a list. Does anyone want to kick off?
I have a little apology I'd like to offer, that my personal traffic perceptions during our last meeting may have been inappropriate. When I read the local transportation study, and it said the roadway segments that are projected to continue to operate at substandard LOS are physically constrained to the point to which roadway widening is not feasible, that caused me to focus on traffic and existing traffic safety. However, I do see, and I looked further into it, the local transportation study provided by Chen Ryan in September of 2022, and it states that included improvements to achieve consistency with Encinitas circulation element will meet or exceed the general plan and be consistent. So I feel I may have been a little bit remiss in terms of not reading the report fully, and I wanted to comment on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Sherrod. To be fair, I received a printout of the staff reports here, which is 5 inches tall. I usually prefer to read these documents electronically, but I may keep it around as a reminder of I'm not sure what. But it's a big old slab of paper, and we had very little time to absorb it, as we usually do. But thank you. Yeah, it's easy to get passionate about a project there. We live here in this neighborhood, in this town, and you know, everything that happens here is passionate to us. But
So Chair Doyle,
yes,
if
but
I
I'm not saying we're going to rule on passion. Is that what you're?
Oh, no, not at all. No, that was my point. I did want to inform you that the applicant has proposed to make some minor revisions to the application. So you may wish to provide him the opportunity to describe what that is. Additionally, so you are aware, the public will have an additional opportunity to respond to any new information. So to the extent that we hear a revised proposal from the applicant, the public is allowed to speak solely to the revisions. So if
Okay.
it relates to things that are not revisions, you are not required to allow that public testimony. Obviously, you have the authority to do that, but you would essentially be opening everything. So typically, a commission would allow public comment solely to the new information that has been provided.
Okay, well, that'll be interesting to police, but I will do my best to keep people on point. Nick? Oop, you're not on.
So we have made a lot of changes, not a lot, but we've made a couple of changes to the project to address the key.
The mic's not on.
There? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I hear you.
So we have made some changes to the project to address the key concerns brought up by the commissioners during the last hearing. But at the same time, we would like to request a continuance. There are other things that we are looking at doing to try to address as many of the concerns of the commissioners and the public that we heard 2 weeks ago before we take the item forward to a vote. So we are formally requesting a continuance here tonight.
All right, fair enough. I was warned of this. I was hoping we could run through some of the more standard things we usually miss. I'd like to discuss a little things about ingress and egress. Are there certain areas that you're hoping to address? It'd be great if we could give you our feedback now, because as you've pointed out last time, we have only 5 meetings, and it'd be a shame to waste this opportunity when we're all here. So if there is further input we can give you today, I mean, we haven't even looked at the plans. We didn't discuss them last time.
So we would, our advice at council, if we request the continuance tonight and we don't go forward here, it does not count as one of the 5 hearings.
Oh.
So we would be back for a full planning commission hearing. We think we have addressed it, but getting comments, if we're going to make changes to the project, I think it might be more beneficial to see the comments you give after those changes have been proposed.
Okay.
So, but at your discretion.
I'm going to look over to my own legal counsel.
Right.
If you're willing to state on the record that you're willing to go to 6 hearings, then I don't see a concern with that. It's certainly your choice. You can do as they've requested. If you have preliminary comments or additional questions that you want to have answered at this point, that's certainly your prerogative. If you want to just continue this right now, that is also your choice.
That's your choice, I'm guessing, right?
I think it's your choice.
How about staff here, or commissioners?
I'd make a motion to continue the project.
A second?
I'd second.
All right, do we
So,
have any?
so would that be a motion to continue to the next planning commission meeting, or what meeting?
I think we'd like to have the flexibility to work with staff, depending on the changes we show them. Your staff did an amazing job to get the changes that we have already proposed, reviewed, and to you in some kind of a workable time. I'm not sure if they'll be able to do it again, depending on the substance of the changes that we make at this point. So I would recommend not doing date certain and allowing us to work with staff to determine a date.
Okay, so so the motion would be to a date uncertain, knowing that we would have to renotice at that time.
Wait,
Yes.
Correct.
Before we vote, can I have a question? Is that allowed?
Of course, yeah.
Point of order, or whatever it's called.
Turn the
sorry.
mic towards your face.
Yes. All right. So we have questions. We're going to hold those. I'm asking, I guess, the attorney and/or chair. We have questions. We're going to sit on those questions. We're not going to hear their changes. And so if I have a question now, it might be irrelevant because the changes are coming. So wait for the changes in the presentation. All my questions will wait until that time. Is that right?
Yes.
That's how it works?
Well, it's entirely your discretion. That is what the applicant is requesting.
Okay.
And that is what the applicant is recommending.
Got it.
You could make a different motion if you'd rather hear it tonight. I mean, you know,
could
it's
say,
our
I would like to
decision
make a
whether we
substitute
continue it or not
motion.
continue it.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion to hear a couple of their changes so that I can properly digest over the next 2 weeks with staff the changes so that my questions are more relevant in the future date, unless the plans are still in motion and they're not ready to discuss.
I'd rather not do like half meetings.
Right.
I'd rather let them go away, come
Yeah.
back fully prepared to demonstrate or, you know, present the project to us.
Okay.
And then at that time, they may have addressed some of your concerns. They may hear your concerns for the first time. But I think half steps are going to be difficult, and I don't think we want to be in a position where we're like at the design table with them, like give and take, okay, this is why I want you to go away, you know. So anyway, that's
True.
why I made a motion to continue it.
Understood. Thank you.
It's not our job to design the project for the applicant. And I'll say you guys have been very responsive, and, you know, you're on the right track. So I would.
So I just have a quick question
We're
along
open
the
for
same line.
discussion before a vote.
Whatever
certainly.
questions that we had that we were going to ask now, we can still ask. If
Right
we
now?
continue.
No,
You-
you can ask
Well,
them
you,
next week or
you
next
you could ask them at the following meeting, and they're stating maybe some of those questions will not be material anymore because the project may have been changed. But certainly,
So the
whatever
idea-
additional questions you may have, whatever new information is provided, you certainly will have a full opportunity at the next hearing to ask whatever questions you desire.
So we will have the opportunity to ask questions.
Correct.
Generally.
And-
And so I'm okay with continuing.
Yes.
And just as a side note, we've closed public comment, but commission deliberation is still in process. This is a continued meeting. We didn't do a vote last meeting. The only vote we did was to continue. And that
So,
is-
and then when they come back with, sounds like substantial revisions, certainly you would be required at that point to allow the public to comment on essentially what would be a largely new project.
Right. That would, I'm sorry.
I don't think it's going to be that drastic of changes, but they're more than I want to try to describe in a meeting like this. It's something that we need to get on paper to show you. It'll be for certain areas of the project, but it will not be anywhere near a top-down redesign of the project.
So as I explained previously, your requirement is you would allow the public to speak as to the revisions.
Yep.
Okay, so,
Which-
I'm sorry, so council, we'll just say hypothetically, it gets agendized 2 weeks from today. The notice will go out to the public, and they'll be able to comment on the delta, or they'll be able to comment on anything they want to because it's open for the public.
That
Right.
when it is continued, you must allow the public to speak to the delta. You can always allow the public to speak to more than the delta.
Okay. All right.
And I think that'll be up to our discretion and my discretion, honestly.
Okay.
If the project has changed so substantially, then we probably will open that public comment. It's like, you know, once you open a can of worms, you gotta look at all the worms.
Yes.
But I suspect, think you're on the right trail. I think I'm okay with this. We can make decisions that when you return, hopefully it will be soon.
We appreciate your input from the last meeting. There were some things that upon taking it back, we did think that we could give the commission that you guys thought would make a better project, and so we concurred with that. And we want to try to address as many concerns as we can. We know we're never going to please everybody, but the more things that we can address, we think the better project it will be. And we're going to have the project for a long time, and you guys are going to have the project for a long time, so we want to make it as good as we can.
And I think we can agree, we all do want the best project we can get. You want the best project for you and your clients, we want the best project for us in our city. It's like we all pretty much are on the same, well, not on the same page, but we have the same overarching goal.
Agreed.
I think we have a motion and a
We have
second.
a motion and a second. Do we have any more discussion? Let's call the question. Maybe do a roll call.
Chair Doyle,
Aye.
Vice Chair Dalton.
Aye.
Commissioner Sherrod.
Aye.
All right, Commissioner Ryan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Prendergast.
Aye.
All right. Motion passes to continue. It would be off calendar? Off
Off
calendar.
calendar, that's
Okay.
correct.
5-0.
And we should make a note that this, the applicant has agreed that this meeting is not count towards our 5 meetings. Or
Correct.
not counting that 6 meeting.
Correct. So we can go to 6 meetings, and they've agreed that that is legally acceptable to
And
them.
Yep.
hopefully it won't come to that.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like I said, I think we will be in a position to have a good discussion of the project next time, but get a vote on it here and then follow the process.
If I said it before, but you've been responsive, and I really appreciate that. I don't need as much paper. Please don't print any more staff reports.
We'll try to just give you the changed
plan
pages and
documents
identify
were-
what has changed.
The plan documents were invaluable. The staff reports less so.
Well, it is a big project, and there's a lot of documentation, and we appreciate you guys taking the time to look at it. And any way we can make it easier to look at. I mean, staff and us, we've been dealing with this for well over a year, and so we've gotten to know it pretty good. But it's a lot of information to digest in a short amount of time.
Thank you very much. This case is closed for now, and I'm going to move on with the rest of our agenda. Do we have any future items added by the Planning Commission? Any interest? Nay? Do we have any Planning Commission reports? Anything interesting happening?
Well,
I'll
the
ask for-
El Camino Real Task Force will be meeting again in November, and they're deliberating between Monday, the 21st, or Tuesday, the 29th.
Okay.
So if you have input, you can let Melinda Dacey know.
Cool, thank you. Anna, do we have a secretary's report?
A few things. So the legals for the November 17th Planning Commission hearing were this week, and so there were no items on November 17th. And so I'm not sure if we can formally cancel it now. That would be
Well,
one thing.
Right. So I would think it would be safe to cancel it because I don't think they're going to be ready in 2 weeks. So,
Well, they wouldn't be able to be on the 17th because the legals already were
right,
sent.
they wouldn't have the time. They're not going to have it in time. So there won't, yeah, there's no reason that you couldn't cancel the meeting and just, we'll put the notice out saying that that meeting would be canceled.
Telling me we're going to have a snow day?
Snow day.
And then December 1st was canceled as well, but we can consider opening it if that is,
I will be at my mother's 90th birthday party on December 1st, so
okay, thank you. Okay, so then there's a cancellation of November 17th. It has always been canceled on December 1st, and we're keeping that cancellation, it sounds like. And then the other thing is that the short-term rentals are being heard, the first reading by City Council on November 9th. That's next week. And I think that's all I had.
wow, that's exciting.
When's the second meeting in December?
December 15th.
Okay.
So then we
Yeah,
be
should
back
be
then.
in town, hopefully.
On the calendar, real quick, also December 15th will be, new city council will have been seated by that time?
That is correct. At that time, there would be the new city council seated.
Oh, yeah, when does the council get seated? It's not like the president in January?
I don't know the exact date, but I believe it's the first meeting after the election,
Oh, wow.
if I remember correctly.
So it's kind of wonky, but the county registrar of voters has up to, I believe it's 30 days, whether it's 28 or 30 days, I believe it's 30 days. 30 days to count the votes, and then there's a formal procedure, but essentially it's the first meeting after that 30-day period is run. So if they take 25 days, and it's usually pretty close to the full time period, so you're looking generally a month after the election is when the new city council would take
Oh,
office.
Early December.
Early December.
Well, that'll be exciting. It's always, change is always,
Yeah, December, whether it's early or mid-December, it'll be in December, yes.
yeah, we'll know by Christmas.
So our next meeting here won't be till the 15th, December 15th.
That's correct.
All right, well, I'm going to adjourn this meeting till our next regular meeting of, believe it or not, December 15th. Merry Christmas, everyone.